I'm Emily of British Girl Bakes, and I'm going to show you how to make this colourful Easter cake and the fun Easter eggs on top. This tutorial is a collaboration with Talia of Talia's Cakes, and I'll be sharing her tutorial at the end of this one. I'm going to decorate my cake with some cake crumbs mixed with frosting, shaped like Easter eggs and dipped in different coloured chocolate. These are really easy to make and a great way to use up any domed tops of your cake that you've trimmed off. Crumble any extra cake and mix it with some frosting. I can't give you exact quantities because it depends on how moist your cake is and how stiff your frosting is, but to give you an idea, this is about 2 cups of cake crumbs with half a cup of frosting. I started with 1/4 of a cup and then added another 1/4 of a cup until I had a mixture that could form a shape. I'm using a tablespoon to scoop up some of this cake mixture so that all of my Easter eggs will be the same size. I'm rubbing the mixture between my hands to make it more pliable so it doesn't crack as I shape it, and then rolling it into a ball between my hands and then pinching one side to make it narrower, to be the top of the egg. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please click the thumbs up button. I'm repeating this with the rest of my cake mixture to make 20 Easter eggs. I'm not going to use all of them on my cake. I'll use some for another project, and I'll have some extras. But it's a good idea to have a few extras so that after you decorate them, you can choose the prettiest ones and eat the rest. I'm chilling these for at least 30 minutes in the fridge so that they set. I'm lining the eggs up on a wire cooling rack, and the key here is that there are gaps underneath the eggs, which will be useful later on. I'm placing some foil underneath the rack to catch any spilled decorations. These are Wilton candy melts, which are tinted discs of chocolate, and I've melted them for 1.5 minutes in the microwave at 60% power. It's important to lower the power of your microwave, otherwise the chocolate overheats and seizes and becomes a grainy paste that you can't use for this. If that happens, you can add some cold milk or cream to it, and as you stir, it will come back together. I'm adding some vegetable oil to my candy melts to thin them out, adding about 1/4 of the amount of candy melts, and stirring it until it's completely incorporated. I'm using oil instead of cream because with oil, the candy melts set firm, whereas with cream, it will stay soft. I'm doing this with blue and yellow candy melts too. Now I'm using 2 cups to raise up my rack when I take the Easter eggs out of the fridge, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm sticking a toothpick into the bottom of one egg, tilting the bowl of chocolate at an angle so it pools at the bottom, and holding the toothpick sideways and dipping the egg into the chocolate, spinning it around to coat the whole egg except for the base, which is going to be stuck into a frosting nest so we won't be able to see it. I'm tapping the toothpick gently on the side of the bowl to shake off any excess chocolate, and then I'm poking the egg through one of the gaps in the wire rack, pinching the toothpick from underneath to lower the egg gently onto the rack without touching it so I don't mess up the chocolate coating, and then pulling the toothpick out from underneath. I'm continuing with yellow for 1/3 of the eggs and then switching to blue, following the same steps to coat these. These are so delicious to eat. The insides are really moist because of the frosting blended into the cake crumbs, and the crisp chocolate coating is really satisfying when you bite into it. And they look adorable too! Depending on how many eggs you do, and how long you've chilled them for, and how warm it is where you're decorating, the eggs might get warm and soft before you finish dipping them. When this happens, it's difficult to spin them in the chocolate, so you should put them back in the fridge for 20 or 30 minutes and then continue. I'm moving on to pink, and you can see this egg is too warm, because instead of sticking to the toothpick as I spin it, the toothpick is spinning around and around inside the egg, but the egg is staying still because it's not sticking to the toothpick anymore. I've dipped all of my eggs, and now I'm going to chill them for about 20 minutes so that the coating sets. Meanwhile, I'm going to put my candy melts back in the microwave for about 20 seconds on 60% power, to melt them again, and next I'm going to double and triple dip a few of the eggs, to make them stripy, holding them upside down above the candy melts and dipping them in about 2/3 of the way. I'm chilling them again and then doing a 3rd dip, only dipping the top 1/3 of each egg this time. I've tinted my 4-minute buttercream these 3 colours to match my Easter eggs, using gel food colours, and after crumb coating and chilling my cake, I'm starting at the top, spreading blue buttercream to cover the top of the cake and the top of the sides, making sure the frosting goes up over the top of the sides of the cake so there aren't any gaps in the frosting. Now I'm using yellow for the bottom 1/3 of the cake, making sure the frosting goes all the way down to the bottom, and then filling in the middle with pink frosting, trying to get all of the frosting the same thickness. If you're interested in learning more styles of frosting cakes, I have a free online course called 10 Frosting Techniques, and you can sign up for free on my website, and I've put the link in the description below and in the screen. With a frosting smoother, I'm scraping around the cake, holding the smoother against the baseboard to keep it straight, and spinning the cake on the turntable. The frosting looks so pretty when it comes off in these 3 bands on my frosting smoother. I have a tutorial on how to get smooth sides and sharp edges, and I've put the link in the video description below and in the screen. I'm going around the cake a few times until I'm happy with it, touching up any air pockets with more frosting. This is an acrylic frosting smoother, and it has a nice sharp edge to get a really smooth finish on the frosting. When I finish the sides, I'm smoothing out the top, then the sides again to get rid of the bulge, the top again, and now I'm going to cover the cake with little speckles made by mixing cocoa powder with vodka, or you can use any extract, like vanilla. This is the consistency you want. It's thick enough to leave distinct splatters on the cake, but thin enough to be able to flick. You can use any size paintbrush for this, but I definitely recommend covering the wall behind your cake with paper or one of those disposable tablecloths. I'm flicking my paintbrush at the cake, holding my other hand out to knock the paintbrush against it, and that's what creates the spray of the cocoa powder mixture, which splatters onto the cake. The further away from the cake you do this, the finer the splatters will be. Play around with the angle you do it from, and spin the cake around as you go to get the speckles all over the cake, both the sides and the top. I've put all 3 colours of buttercream into my piping bag, one alongside the other, so that as I pipe little swirls on top of the cake, they're coming out with all of the colours of the frosting on the sides of the cake, blended together to make these pretty colourful swirls. I've fitted my piping bag with a Wilton 1M tip. I'm pressing an Easter egg into each one while the frosting is still fresh and sticky, wiggling the eggs in so that the base is nestled within the swirl, covering up the naked bases of the eggs. And there it is, a pretty and fun Easter cake. Thanks for watching. Now head over to Talia's Cakes to see how she made this adorable Easter egg basket cake. Can you believe it's cake? Subscribe to my channel for new cake decorating tutorials every week.